Hey folks, welcome back. Today, I'd like to invite you to play a small, thoughtful game with me. One meant to be experienced in gentle bursts, day by day. It's called Bonsai Diary, and it blends sketching, journaling, and reflection into a quiet ritual of growth, just like tending a tiny tree. This demo wasn't sponsored, but I had the pleasure of playing with the game's creator, Jean Koo of Stickerdoodle Games. The game itself is based around narrative prompts, and Mr. Koo acted as a kind of dungeon master / artist. While the game is designed with just one player in mind, it allows for beautiful moments to grow between friends as well. It was a lovely experience, and I'm excited to share it with you. If Bonsai Diary speaks to you, you'll find a link to the Kickstarter below. Feel free to support it and maybe share it with someone who might enjoy this kind of quiet play. A full interview with Jean is coming soon, but rather than describe the game myself, I'll let Mr. Koo explain it in his own words.
All right, so the Bonsai Diary is a journaling game, and I don't know if people are familiar with what that is, but in a journaling game, you write a journal. What's different about this is, in addition to writing a journal, you're also drawing a journal. And the way that I've talked to people about this is you really play maybe once a day. And the people I've talked to who really enjoyed it, like they set aside like 10 minutes, have their coffee, sit down with their imaginary tree, do a little bit of quiet contemplation and painting with their little tree on the very first day. And we're going to simply trace that basic stem. At this point, it's not a trunk, it's just a stem, it's a seedling. Part of the story here is you just put it in a pot of whatever the heck is lying around, and in my case, it's probably one of those plastic soup bowls that you get from the supermarket, because we have so many of those, and that's just what's lying around. And so I'm just gonna
I love that.
tell that little story, and if you want to give it leaves, you can go ahead and give it leaves. It's not essential, and as you can tell, I'm really making a hash of it, but you know what? This is not an art project if you don't want it to be. It's a meditative, everything is good. You're just enjoying the idea of growing a bonsai. And that's the whole reason for the Kickstarter, is to be able to put this all into one booklet that has all of the materials laid out for you. I was finding people also have, a little bit challenging to print these sometimes. So the journaling questions go along with the drawing instructions. And right now in the beginning is pretty simple. As it goes along, they'll be a little bit more complex. What words of encouragement do you whisper as you press the soil down around your seedling?
Just that I hope we learn to thrive together, because this is a long journey ahead of us.
I don't recommend doing what I'm about to do, which is just blow through it. The way that the bonsai grows, and as each page goes by, you add another stroke. Let me sharpen this a little bit. So we had that original stroke. And I think this is too young for it to go branching out and doing anything crazy like that. So I'm just going to thicken it. And now we have a slightly more mature pretend oak tree. And I'm going to give it a slightly different pot this time. It's going to be an aspirational one. It's going to be way too big. So I'm going to give it that novice mistake here of overdoing it. So, okay, and part of what we did here in the second page with these two strokes is we've repotted this. And as I said, a little bit aspirational. And often the shape of the pot says something about your intention for the tree and the shape of the tree, but maybe also your own intention. So the questions for this particular one are, you repot your sapling, and how does this new container reflect your feelings about the bonsai?
I think this pot, the angle it's at, already sort of a narrative of perseverance is starting to come through to me. Like the tree is almost feels like it's falling over with its lean, but it still has that strength that it's going to firmly root and grow proud.
The bonsai may outlive you. What future do you imagine for it?
If this were a real seedling in my care, it's just that I hope that somebody takes this tree far. Whether it's me, whether I pass it on to somebody just getting started, it's about the journey more than anything else.
In some sense, there's no randomness in this game because the booklet just tells you what to do, although in the back there is a version that you can play that is random. But what I find happens if you really just let your subconscious go is kind of like what you do with a real tree. Your tree will tell you what it wants to do, and then you have to justify it in the story.
Yep.
And
to everybody who looks at it, right?
yeah, exactly. And so to me, the randomizer here is just what's going through your subconscious or your unconsciousness as you are drawing or painting, and then you look at it and say, well, why did I do that? So I am going to put you on the spot here.
Okay.
And it actually is, this is a 6-year jump from the last page. So the last 2 pages were like back to back in terms of like basically one day after the next, right? And then a year goes by. And then here we are 6 years later. And so as you can see in the instructions here, we're going to draw 3 strokes. And we can do what we want. You can see that the example here has a branch actually going straight, but we have the shape that we started with, and as you said, it was leaning. In this amount of time, we could have done anything to it. We could have repotted it straight. We could have, wired it. We could be encouraging a branch to grow into a major, future.
Yeah.
So, what do you think would happen here?
Sorry, let me pin. Yep. So that little junction, the little fork there.
Yeah.
I think at this point in time, I've selected one of those branches and it's really starting to grow out at what I'm calling like the first section of trunk.
Okay.
And the trunk from there has kind of come over off to the left-hand side.
This way.
Sorry.
No.
That's
right
line 1 up to the first
Okay.
branch.
Yep.
And then from there comes out
to,
over that way.
You wanted to turn, so we're going to going a backwards C.
So not a hard turn.
Not a hard turn.
Hold up, stop
Yep.
there.
Okay.
And then from there, let's start bringing it more back towards that right-hand side.
So we're going to like an S.
Yep.
Okay. Let's see if I execute this. And you know what? I'm going to be, if it doesn't turn out, I am just a willful.
And that is A-okay. I'm a bonsai artist because I can't work a pen.
Yeah, well, let's see what, I don't know if I can follow instructions is really what I'm talking about here. So if we say that this is the main branch, I don't know if that's enough of a curve for you there.
No, I think that's good.
Or is it too much? Right?
No, I think it works.
All right. And then you're going to start developing this side branch right here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do? We want to thicken this main one so we know that this is the main one?
Yeah, so let's definitely thicken it up a little bit and maybe have like a kick of branch just to the left so it makes like a Y.
Left. Yeah. So, I could just do a basic outline, right, of this is what the foliage might look like if there were foliage on here, or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't fancy myself an artist, and part of what I hope people believe is that like you don't even have to have this fancy brush. Like you can do this with pencil, you can do this again with crayon, marker, whatever. And just kind of create this silhouette or whatever, and I don't know, it actually looks like a pretty decent tree to me. Do you want to answer the questions that go with this?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, let's hear them.
All right. So there's 2. You've had your bonsai for 6 years. It's healthy and strong. What do you think or feel as you care for it?
Companionship. At this point, we've gone through a bit together and looked at each other at least the once or twice a day. At this point, as far as I'm concerned, this is a constant companion in life. I'm very. I feel like I would be very tuned into its seasonal changes at this point, and have a little bit of a flow, a harmony has been established.
Hmm. Hmm. And answer this how you choose, because one of the things I say up front is you don't have to make this. Well, the word biographical isn't quite right because we're talking about the future, right? So this doesn't
Right.
have to be you. It could be a fictional version of you, it could be a fantastical version of you, or just somebody else entirely. But the next question is, how are you doing?
Oh,
6 years, it's now 6 years from now.
I think I'm gonna answer from where I hope I am 6 years from now. And the answer is pretty great. Thank you for asking.